No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And here we go. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, doing my podcast in South Carolina. How in the world did they do that? I've been out of California for quite some time. I guess because I was born there. I'm used to being there. And that has always been home for me. So it's easy for me to say that. But I'm not in Southern California. I'm in South Carolina. Beautiful weather today. And I'm glad that I'm alive. Listen, let's talk about some business issues, okay? So there's a report that came out yesterday that says that employers or bosses are fed up with remote work for four main reasons. Some of them are undeniable. And I agree with this story because, listen, I talk to you guys when you're not working. You're talking to me and you're supposed to be working. Then I'm more than willing to do it at night. I'm more willing to talk with you on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm there for you. But it needs to be a situation where you're not calling me during the daytime, unless you're off. If you're off that day, great. Anyway, let me tell you what the four reasons why bosses don't like the remote work that's going on. One, I always think it's unproductive because I don't think that you're getting the full hours. So here's what they say. Number one, remote work is bad for new hires and junior employees. That's true. Because when new hires come into a new business or into a business to work and they're expected to work from home, who's going to train them? Listen, you can get a tiny bit of training through Zoom, but you're not getting the full benefit because you're not there with your boss every day. You're not listening to instruction. You're not listening to their wisdom. You're not listening to what they know that they can train you with. It's very difficult. So I understand that issue is a big issue. It would be with me if I had remote workers. By the way, this article will be down below so you can read it down in the notes of the podcast. Number two was workers admit that remote work sometimes causes more problems than in-person work. What they say is when executed incorrectly, hybrid work plans can create discordant, unproductive teamwork. That's what I hate about this remote work situation. You're not there with your team. You're not listening. You can't express yourself as freely as you can. You can't walk to the next door and say, "Hey, Barbara, what do you think about this?" It's very difficult for in-house work, remote work, to really get the benefit of your peers. Number three was remote workers put in 3.5 hours less per week compared to the in-person worker. I can believe that. You know, it's very easy when you're at work, no one's watching you, no one's really paying attention, and you go out and you go for lunch, and that 30-minute lunch turns into 2-hour lunch. Or if you need to go shopping for your kids or pick up your kids, sometimes time is eaten up from your workplace. So I can understand that remote workers put in 3.5 hours less. Now, a lot of you are going to say, "Oh, no, I put in a lot more than that. I put in more than my 40 hours or 80 hours." But I'm afraid not. Number four, productivity plummets on days when everyone is working remotely. And that is probably true too, because everybody's out of the office. No one's talking to each other. Everyone's working at their home, sending out their emails, responding to chit-chat. I mean, productivity will certainly go down. That's just one of those things that you have to realize working from home. I hate working from home. If I could afford to have an office, I would get an office. But since the pandemic stopped, office space has increased. And so I am still working here at home, which I don't mind. But I tell you, sometimes when I'm working, I say, oh, you know what? I need to go out and water the flowers. So I get up out of a productive work environment that I was in and say, oh, let me go water the flowers. I'm not getting my 3.5 hours from me. Now, I did read an article this morning, which I love because now the weight is off me. The title of the article was, Lazy People Are Smarter Than Everyone Else, according to the best study ever. I'm putting it down below. You look at the study and you tell me whether or not, if you agree with that study. I'm going to tend to agree with it because some days I am lazy. There are some days that I just don't want to work. And so I'm really smart, and I think my process through, and I say, okay, I'll do it later tonight. But right now I just want to chill out and rest. I tell you, we human beings, we can be lazy. And if you're working from home, it's really easy to be lazy. You know, when you're working from home also, let me tell you something else. You eat a lot more. That refrigerator is just a few steps away. And so you're able to go over there and say, you know, I really should write that memo to Tom and explain my position. But you know what? A piece of toast with cheese on it sounds a lot better with a cup of cocoa. Which, by the way, that's what I have on my desk right now is a cup of cocoa. And for breakfast, I had toast with cheese on it. Oh, my goodness. Now, the other thing, you know how Biden and all of the progressives, they're saying, you need to get solar. You need to get solar heating and electricity for your house. Put solar on your house. Here's the problem with that, though. The solar industry is facing bankruptcies. All these companies are going bankruptcy because no one can afford it right now. Everyone is on their last penny. They can't afford to purchase these solar things. And the tax rebates are not all that great. So it's leaving many people who have bought solar with roof panels that don't work because these companies have gone out of business. Now, that's just amazing to me that we're pushing an industry that is going bankrupt. If you look at all of these statistics on solar, and people are trying to sell these solar things, but if your company isn't there, you buy it, you put it on your house, and then they go out of business, who's gonna maintain it? Who's going to talk about the warranty at that time? So, honestly, I think if you can afford it, great. If you can get a good deal, great. But if you're in a situation right now where cash is tight, and I think that pretty much sums up everybody that listens to my podcast, it's going to be tough to afford the solar energy, knowing that you may not have any support when they go bankrupt. I don't know why we in America cannot keep solar industry alive. I mean, these companies go into bankruptcy, they take all this money from the federal government, and then they go bankruptcy. I mean, it's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Why are we not thinking about this just a little bit more? Well, it's just like in California right now. They have pushed this electrical car mandate. However, their electrical system is about ready to go under because it's not strong enough to support all of these electrical cars. So we have a problem. Now, something that I never thought would happen, but I guess it is, because I use these products almost every single day. The company known as Pyrex, Pyrex, the glassware company. Pyrex and Instapot. Instapot are those metal rice makers and cookers. Anyway, they went into bankruptcy protection in the United States. That is something that you really don't want to hear, is more bankruptcies happening. But we're going to see it more and more as we go along in this economy. In this inflationary time, it's going to be a long time. Don't believe the numbers that they're telling you on inflation. It's a total lie. It's a total lie. They're manipulating the numbers, and I don't believe it one bit, because when I talk to the American people and they tell me their stories, I tell you, it's not a good thing. I know people even in the healthcare industry who make pretty good money, and they are in trouble. They are trying to survive every single day, and they make good money. The healthcare industry is probably one of the top paying jobs that you can get if you're a nurse, if you're a PT, OT, speech therapist. Those lines of work make very good money, but they're struggling. And when I do their tax returns, they're owing money. They're making money, but they're also owing money on their tax returns because they don't have the expenses that they used to have. And so you see this happening. And when I talk to people over and over and over again, they are having a tough time. And I'm sure that you're having a tough time. Admittedly, I have a tough time. I'm the only person that goes out and works and talks to you and talks to my clients because I got to survive. I just have to survive. Now, the Social Security Administration is not going to give a very good raise this year. They call it a COLA, cost of living adjustment. And it says that Social Security recipients are on track to receive the smallest COLA increase since the pandemic began. And here we are, most of Americans are faced with high inflation. Food costs are up. Everything is up. So when they produce these cost of living numbers, I just don't believe it because my experience level, even for myself personally, going out and buying food is a drain on my debit card. And it's not a good feeling when you see a drain on your debit card. When I lived in South Carolina before, on a weekly basis, I spent about $85 a week. And that was because I had 3 dogs at the time, so I had to buy dog food, and I had all this other stuff going on. Now it's just me and Skippy, my dog, and it's now ranging about $110 to, it's been up to $154, $155. So I have seen a significant increase in my spending costs on my food. So I've cut down. I make soups, I freeze them up and use them out throughout the week. I make my own bread, which I kind of like because when you make that bread, it really smells good in the house, right? But I've had to readjust my life and do a lot more stuff for myself and to spend less on myself. I mean, I don't buy any new shirts, I don't buy any new pants, I don't buy anything like that. And I am literally kind of stuck until the economy begins to pick up again. And I believe it will at some point in time. But it's not going to do it under the Biden administration if we're always under threat of a new tax or a new fee or something else that he loves to get money from. And then he spends it, and then what happens? Inflation goes back up. We do have a concern, and that is oil prices will probably start jumping here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So be aware of that because of the Saudi issue that we have. Listen, if you would like to sit down with me and have a conversation, you can do so. You can go to my website at www.lodge.co.com. It's always confidential. We never let people hear what we're talking about. So if you would like that, we can talk about any subject, and you can bounce things off of me, and I can tell you where it's at. Now, if you have a business question, you can also send it to me free of charge, which is at thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. Listen, everybody, go out and have a great day. Listen, we have made it through this far. We can make it through the remainder of the Biden administration. We're strong people. We have great will. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your grace, your amazing grace. Thank you for the way that you forgive me every day. Thank you for your grace.